Arden, and welcome to another writing lesson. We have been writing about a special home using our five senses, and you all just got done adding the beginning sound to your picture. And today we're going to continue our writing work on adding some more labels. So let's find out what our writing thinking job is for today. Today, when you leave writing, you're going to be able to expand labels to your illustrations by writing orally. Thumbs up and repeat after me. I can expand labels to illustrations by writing orally. Let's talk about the word expand. Expand. I want you to think of a rubber band. Pretend you have a rubber band. I have a hair tie, but a rubber band and a hair tie are similar because you can stretch them. So I want you to imagine that you have a rubber band in your fingers, okay? When we stretch things like a rubber band or a hair tie, we make them longer. We can stretch words like that too. I can stretch words like the word see. See. Notice how my hair tie expands as I say the word see. Stretching the rubber band as you stretch the word see shows that stretching a word helps writers hear the sounds as you're writing. Remember that when you write orally, we can say our ideas. The word orally means we're saying our ideas aloud first before we write them down. When we write orally, that helps us listen to our ideas before we put them down on paper. So our thinking steps where we say our idea. So we're going to say our idea and then write it down. So today we will write orally to revise our labels. So you did beginning sounds and we're going to be adding to your beginning sounds. We're going to be adding our ending sounds. So we are going to stretch our words like a hair tie to find the ending sounds. Today you will submit your work in Seesaw, or your teacher might have you take a picture as you will work on your lined paper that you have been working on for the last couple of writing lessons. We're continuing to tell a story and write a narrative. And good writers think, tell, write, and draw. Repeat after me. Good writers think, tell, write, and draw. Our thinking steps as we're in the revise process, we're revising, we're adding to our work. Our thinking steps are the same as adding our beginning sounds. We're going to first say our ideas. We're going to say the words. Then we're going to ask ourselves, does that make sense? And then we're going to change and then ask ourselves again, does it make sense? And then we're going to write it down. So let's get started. First, let's take a quick look at our letter chart. Our letter name and sound chart will help us identify the letters and help us practice the sounds. So your teacher's going to pause the video and you're going to say your name. And you are going to find the beginning sound of it. And then you're going to take your imaginary rubber band and stretch it and see if you can find the end sound of it. So if I say Anderson, Anderson, I can hear Anderson. I hear an A at the beginning, and Anderson, I hear an N at the end. So your teacher's going to pause the video and you're going to practice doing your beginning and your ending sound with your first name. Now that you've practiced finding the beginning sound and the ending sound, let's go to our work. Here's my picture of my special home. Remember, my special home was at my grandmother's. Your special home might be at your aunts, your uncles, your friends, your grandparents. Remember, my grandmother was making me a pot of soup and I was tasting the soup. I did the work of labeling my bowl of soup with a S and the pot with a T. So today, I will find a label in my story that I want to add a letter to. And while I'm doing work on my picture, you should be going through the steps on your picture by looking at your picture. And when it's time, you'll get to share out or draw the same work. I want to add the letter of an ending sound, the sound that I hear at the end. Adding the ending sound will help make the label clearer for my readers. I will revise my label soup. I have the beginning sound of S. I'm going to take my hair tie. If I didn't have a hair tie, I can use an imaginary hair tie. And I'm going to stretch the word soup. Soup. Do it with me. Soup. I say it, the word aloud, and I stretched it, and that helps me hear all the sounds in the word. Let me do it one more time. Soup. I listen closely to the last sound, soup, and the last sound I hear is P. I think the letter that makes that sound P is the letter P. Do you agree or disagree? It is the letter P. Your teacher's gonna pause the video and they're either going to give you another example to stretch out the word and practice our step one of saying the ideas, or I want you to look at your picture and find one label you wanna say aloud. Now that I've said my idea of soup, let me think about how I need to write the letter P. I could always go back to my letter card chart to look at the letter P, but I know how to write the letter P because I labeled my picture of a pot. So I am going to use what I've already wrote and I can see a P on my label. So that makes sense to me that P is the ending sound of soup. I'm going to skip step 3 as labeling the ending sound of P makes sense and I don't need to change anything. Sometimes there are steps that we don't need to use. Now it's time for me to write the letter P. I'm going to write the letter P right next to the S. Your teacher is going to pause the video and now it's your turn. You're going to add an ending sound to maybe your own work or something that your teacher wants to show an example of. Wow, I was able to say my idea for the word soup and find out that the letter P made sense and write my letters. Right now, we're just adding the ending sound and my letters might not be written correctly. That's okay. In the next lesson, we're gonna fix our letters. But right now, let's do another ending sound before you go and complete your work. I want the ending sound of pot. I need to say my idea. Pot. Pot. I know what it begins with. I already did that work. Pot. I hear the P sound, and I know the P is the letter P. I need the ending sound. Pot. Pot. At the end of the word pot, I hear the T sound. And thinking back to my letters, I know the letter T makes the T sound. So it makes sense to me. I'm going to skip step 3 and I'm going to write the letter T. I've also added the letter M because grandmom ends with the letter M. Today, we expanded our labeling by adding the ending sound to the work we already did. Your teacher is going to give you the direction of what they want you to do next. You might practice ending sounds on a pre-drawn picture, or you might add to your own work. Happy writing, Kipsters!